Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Olson with the National Tile Contractors Association. I want to welcome you and thank you for taking your time today to, I know you're all busy. It's great that you're attending today's webinar. The webinar today is titled Working Smarter to Make Money and is sponsored and presented by IQ Power Tools. Now, before I start today, I want to remind you that the webinars will be muted. Please use the questions area on your computer to type in your questions. We will answer your questions at the end of this presentation. The audio on your computer if the audio on your computer is poor, call the number on the invite so that you can listen on your phone. As a reminder, all of our webinars are available to watch at any time on the NTCA YouTube channel shortly after the webinars are presented. This gives you easier access to watch and or share all current and past programs at your convenience. All right, we're very lucky today. We have two industry giants here today that are going to be talking to you live. First, I want to introduce Sarah Williams. She's the marketing director for IQ Power Tools and has logged a number of years working within the construction industry. Sarah began her tenure with IQ Power Tools in 2016, offering her expertise in graphic design, social media, and brand management. A graduate of California State University, Fullerton, Sarah's responsibilities include creating, implementing, and measuring the success of a multifaceted marketing program that enhances the company's brand and thus bolsters its position within the marketplace. Thank you, Sarah. All right, our first speaker today, I'm so happy to introduce Paul Booth, CEO and co-founder at IQ Power Tools. He's a third-generation mason contractor and tile installer. He brings 30 years experience as a general masonry, concrete, and tile contractor, providing insight to all IQ Power Tools designs. As an inventor and innovator for over 18 years, Paul's ability to create and design power tools suited for today's contractor is unparalleled within the industry. And I'm very excited to have both of you. Welcome, Sarah and Paul. Looking forward to a great program. All right, you're on.
All right, thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome everybody.
Yeah, that was a great, I appreciate the great introduction. And something as we talk about safety and efficiency and what you pointed out in the very beginning, we do this to make money. This is our livelihoods, and the better we can do it and be efficient at our jobs and stay safe at the same time, it makes us better and we make more money and we're using our time efficiently. And that's what this is all about. And that's kind of what the discussion is going to be about. And really, a lot of times people look at, especially contractors, look at safety and efficiency are like two things that do not work together. It's I can either be safe or I could be efficient, but I can't do those things together. And so we're going to have a kind of a discussion here from my experience on how you actually can be efficient and safe and how they actually complement each other. And just a little bit more about my background so people understand that I've kind of had two lives, well, really three lives, if you want to put it that way. I started out working really myself. I really specialized in glass block installation. So I had a panel van. I was, going to job sites, showing up, and I'd work there from, a few hours to sometimes several days. It was a very mobile, very similar to what tile contractors do today. Their job sites may last one day or, several days, but it's a very mobile type thing. And then I also worked with my brother Joel, and we had, that was a very large masonry contractor where we were on job sites sometimes for 2 years, but we were setting up the tools and making the preparations and keeping everybody working efficiently and safe in, very large commercial type projects. So I have experience in both of those, and so we're going to kind of draw on that as we have this discussion of how we can work efficiently and safe at the same time. So.
But what's your third life? You just said you had three lives.
Well, now I'm a CEO and a manufacturer of a power tool company, so that's my third life. So but I've taken all of that experience, knowledge of using tools, for many, many years, and now we make tools to meet the demands of the end user. So that's my third life. So
So knowing this, I have taken, some time to, study and understand what Paul's been doing, and it's been our clear message to do efficiency, and that is kind of the backbone of who we are here. So we've taken some questions that we've heard from contractors over the years and kind of put them together to conversation. So to get started, efficiency, that is the number one thing. How do I become efficient on a job site?
well, most contractors, efficiency realize that when they step to a job site, especially when they have hired people that they're paying money to, every minute that goes by, there's a dollar amount associated with that. I've been on job sites every minute, there's 20 to $50 per minute just clean up, and you're spending that type of money. So what are you taking that value and what are you creating? That's the efficiency. So, and I think that's pretty well ingrained in most contractors, but you really need to think that way, that every minute I'm spending X amount of dollars, and am I making forward progress in this project? And that's the efficiency mindset.
So if I break down efficiency into a few steps, and what are those steps?
Well, we always broke it down to pre-painting was the first thing. When you get a job, you want to, most guys will go visit the job site and understand it, and you're going to look at different things. What is my access? Where is my water? Where is my power? What are the unique circumstances in that job site that is going to cause a problem? What are those unique problems that I need to do? So access. Sometimes just where I park my truck is 3 blocks away from where the job site is. So how am I going to get my tools there and work efficiently? So, getting there early, evaluating the job site and really understand what the challenges are going to be, and then giving yourself the time to think about those imagine the problems you might be having. Let's say the power goes out. What happens? Let's say there's intermittent water. What am I going to do, and what is my backup plan to deal with that? So giving yourself the time to think through those types of problems and being prepared for it.
Have you ever had an example? I'm kind of going off the cuff here, but do you have an example of that you've had to come up with a backup plan on your job site?
Yeah, I mean, for example, power. Sometimes you are working at the mercy of maybe the neighbor has power. And let's say the neighbor, goes on vacation or shuts his door and you break, a circuit breaker pops. Now you have no power. Now you can't get anything done. Well, probably would have been better off if I knew that that was kind of a tenuous power situation. I should probably have a generator available. And that way, you can solve those types of problems. But each job site is unique and they need to be evaluated. And like I said, give yourself the time to pre-plan those things and think about how you're going to deal with those potential problems.
So once I kind of plan it out beforehand, I get to the job, what can I do to become, prepared on the day of the job site, on day one?
Yeah, and that's really the basics. Where are you putting your materials? How are what's your staging area? Where are you going to be mixing your mortars and your thin sets? And making sure that, your job site stays organized and clean. And we'll talk more about that because that really starts playing into the safety piece of it as well. So really being organized and setting up a good organized workspace.
So we kind of listed a few examples. So one of them would be keeping the tools readily available. What do you mean by that?
Well, yeah, you want to have the tools on the truck that you're going to need to do that job, and tools solve problems. So you want to make sure you have the right tools to solve the problems that are going to be in front of you. You got your basic mixers for mixing your mortars. You're going to have a saw to cut your tile. You're going to have your splitters and trowels and a handful of things. What are you going to need to solve those problems? So, and then where do you locate those tools? And that's one of the big things that I always found as a problem is, I would have to set my wet saw up out in somebody's front yard, and now I'm making cuts out in the front yard, and I'm taking that wet cut and I'm walking in the house. Sometimes it's people live there, so I'm drip, drip, drip down their hallway back into their bathroom, and that's just not the most efficient thing. So if I can get my saw closer to where I'm working, of course, that's going to save steps, which is more efficient.
And have you had any issues with, scaffolding and making sure that that's prepared correctly that you want to elaborate on?
Yeah, I mean, tile industry I'm sure gets into scaffolding somewhat, but scaffolding is incredibly important, and it needs to be built in a way that is correct per the OSHA standards, making sure that you have adequate scaffolding, you have guardrails, so you're making sure you're taking care of any fall hazards. That being said, making sure you have a good ladder to access the scaffold, making sure that if you have people working on that scaffold, the thing is not all wobbly and wanky, and they're worried about their life up there. They're not worried about getting their job done. So making sure they have a good, stable work platform, and then they don't have to think about, am I going to survive this? They're thinking about, let's just get the job done. So, those are kind of some of the things, how safety and efficiencies work together. Make sure they have a good, stable workplace space if they're on scaffolding.
So what I'm getting is basically, don't just show up to the day of the job saying, well, let's just figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that, and that's kind of how contractors start. But what they learn is that's very expensive. It's expensive. You're spending money trying to figure out a lot of things when you show up. If you got a helper or people standing there waiting for you to solve these problems before we can actually do something productive, it's very expensive. And then from a safety standpoint, pre-planning your safety and understanding, if you do have scaffold, or if you need ladders, or if there's access issues, is there dust issues you need to be prepared for? Pre-planning all those types of things so that you have the safety equipment necessary when you arrive on the job site. Safety and efficiency.
So my next question is, would all those things that you're, thinking forward about be considered part of your JHA?
Your job hazard analysis?
Correct.
Yes, and that plays into more of what OSHA is looking for, especially a job hazard analysis, in case people aren't aware of what that is. A job takes different processes. So if you're going to start cutting something with a grinder, well, you need a job hazardous analysis is, okay, I'm grinding, or I'm using a grinder to grind something or cut. What are the dangers? What are the hazards in what I'm doing here? It could be a dust hazard. It could be, but I need to be wearing gloves. Should I have a work stand that I'm working on so that I'm not cutting on an awkward surface? So that's a job hazardous analysis, and make sure you kind of go through all of those steps. And that's really can be part of the silica program that OSHA has put out, so that you're being prepared to take care of any dust exposure things.
You read my mind. I was going to ask if that's an OSHA thing, because I feel like that would then come back to making that money because you don't want to get fined. So would you have to have a JHA for each job?
Well, it's not each job, but it's each process of the job.
Got it.
So you're doing all these different types of processes, so you have to have a JHA for these different processes, and that is part of the silica regulation, is having those JHAs identified, having a procedure. What is the safety equipment that goes along with each one of those hazards, and then being prepared. And if you do that, and that's pre-planning, setting yourself up for success and safety, and you're always going to be more efficient by doing it ahead of time.
So our next point is organization. So I know preparedness kind of flowed into organization, but we want to dive into that, and how can that lead to efficiency?
Well, we have some pictures, that we can pull up. You think about a job site and just walking in and around your work area. If you have a work area that's, you got tools and cords all over the place, you got tile, and you're kind of trying to maneuver this space to get to where you're working, that's inefficient. Also, it's not safe. I mean, you step on a grinder that's on the floor and you twist your ankle. Now what are you gonna do? Now you can't walk.
Yeah.
Talk about, now you've injured yourself, or your helper has injured himself. That's a safety issue. And now you're not getting the job done. You're not being productive because you're triaging whatever this injury is. So that's how really safety and efficiency work together. Keep your job site clean, keep it organized, make it safe to walk in and out. And what I've always said is anytime you can eliminate a step that you're going to take, a physical step that you're going to walk, you've just eliminated a safety hazard, because every time a person takes a step, he has the opportunity to take a misstep and, hurt himself in some way. Also, every step costs you money. So that's how safety, in a nutshell, can really work together, safety and efficiency.
So, did you want to show any more pictures of unorganized
we
ones?
have other pictures, of job sites. That was an indoor job site. We have one picture here, around the saw. So you're trying to make cuts around the saw, and you're trying to, all your, your masonry cutoffs are all around the saw.
Definitely trip hazards there.
It's good they had a wheelbarrow there, but they stopped emptying that wheelbarrow, and now it's spilling out over the job site. So we always would try to, on a big job site, we have our masonry saw. All of our cutoff pieces or trash at that point go into a big tip dumpster. And now you're throwing them into a tip dumpster, and now a forklift is coming by and picking up the tip dumpster and dumping it into your, your big trash and to haul it off. So you're never putting something on the ground that you gotta go physically walk over and pick up and, and throw into a dispenser. Again, that's extra steps. That's an opportunity for somebody to get injured. It's a place where somebody can trip over. So keeping your job site clean, organized is just safe and efficient.
Can you show the kind of cleaner one, if you will? So we can talk about this one. So this one's a little bit more organized.
Yeah, this is definitely more organized, but tile jobs, like this. So this is going to be a tub surround or something in here. They're a little bit messy in themselves because you got confined spaces. So really look at using workspaces, work tables, things like that to get your tools up off the ground. Keep your your cords organized so you're not tripping over them. Use maybe little spider boxes for your cords so you're not having many cords running in and out. So things like that, just staying organized and efficient.
So you brought up, when we were practicing earlier, you brought up the opposite. Can you be maybe too organized, and what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, a tile contractor that's been doing it for many years, you can't be too organized, but you can be, what they call too anal, to where it hinders you.
A little OCD?
I mean, a job site is controlled chaos. I mean, that's just what it is. You have other trades working around you, and some people find it a very frustrating environment to work in, and some personalities just can't handle that. So you have to balance that out. You can only control what you're doing. Good communication with your other trades and with the general contractor helps, making sure that when you're coming in, what to expect, what the workspace is. You got your access, you got your power, you got your water, and all of those types of things are very important. And what are the other trades that are going to be there that can affect you? And other trades can also do things that are affecting your safety as well. So good communication on that regard is, again, safety and efficiency works together. You want to get your job done as fast as possible, and that's the safest thing.
What about theft? How does that play into this?
Theft.
Like, okay, so if I'm on a job site and it's a big hot mess and I got tools everywhere,
well,
I mean, it's going to be easier for somebody to steal something, right?
Yeah, if you can't find your tools yourself, you don't know if something's missing. So yeah, I mean, theft does play into it. That's why a lot of guys use the trailers, and they've got exactly where every grinder goes and their trowel goes, and maybe they even outline them on a pegboard, those types of things. So yeah, staying organized and knowing where your tools are and keeping them close and safe, is definitely going to keep you more efficient.
So I know we showed those pictures of a messy job site, but I want to dive into the cleanliness a little bit more. So let's talk about, find the water or waste containers. Can we maybe show a picture of that real quick and kind of show the examples of, trying to find the water, and is that safe?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, as a contractor, as a tile contractor, and when I was doing glass block and tile, I would do high-rise work, and so I would be up on the 13th floor of a high-rise cutting, or I'm installing glass block and I'm mixing mortars and I have waters and things, and now what do I do with my wastewater? So I don't want to admit this publicly, but you go and try to find a janitor's closet or something like that where you can dump your water up, or you end up putting a lid on the bucket and you end up hauling the water back home, where I can dump it into my neighborhood, where I couldn't dump it in the neighborhood I was working in. So those are the types of things that makes you a lot more efficient. You get rid of the water, now you don't have to think about that. And that's one of the advantages of dry cutting.
So my next question is, if you had an example or a story maybe of a time on a job site where you were flustered and you couldn't find a tool, or,
Well, I mean, there's lots of times that I don't know any specific time, but that is kind of what makes contractors, they're entrepreneurs, and so they want to solve their own problems and kind of control their own destiny, and that's really, becoming a contractor is a great way to start with that, because it teaches you those basic things. Organize your life, organize your work, and then you can use your time efficiently and keep safe and keep your employees safe. And then, you can make a great living by doing that. So it just is, if you haven't thought about it in that way, just remember that when you step onto a job site, imagine a clock going over there and it has dollar signs clicking away. And if you got multiple people there, you're spending that much money every minute. So how can I be the most efficient? And being prepared before that clock starts ticking, especially with other guys standing around that you're paying, that's money in the bank. So.
Well, then on that note, you want to segue into our cutting cost calculator, and we can kind of show them like a clear example of how that being prepared and being, ready will save them money.
Yeah, so we have a kind of on our website, we have this cutting cost calculator, and you can actually go in and fill this out, and it's really, because we eliminate the water in cutting because we're dry cutting, but what is that water costing you? And so you can go in and put in some time frames on what it takes you to set up your saw every day. What are the average time it takes in the cutting? And then you can actually start putting some dollar values to that. You see that how dry cutting and eliminating water is more efficient. You're not dealing with the water, and you're also, in most cases, putting the saw very close to where you're working. And so a lot of times the guy that needs the cut is making his own cuts, and your helper can be prepping, the next part of the job. And so again, it makes you more efficient.
So let's go ahead and run through it so we can show you guys, a real number. So what's the average time it takes to set up your saw and your cutting station each day with a wet saw?
Yeah, I mean, it sets up, maybe it takes 10 minutes, and that's pretty fast.
Okay. And what's the average time it takes to clean up your cutting area at the end of each day?
Yeah, that's probably going to take you a good 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, say 20 minutes.
Okay.
And that would be, and that's cleaning your saw up, emptying the water out, figuring out what you're going to do with that water. And
that's the next question. What is the average time it takes to dispose of the slurry or contaminated water each day?
That's a big range. I mean, that can be a big challenge, or it can be fairly simple, but it's going to take you at least 5 minutes to figure out what you're doing, with your water.
What would be the average walk time to a cutting station, round trip? Per cut.
Per cut, that could easily be 1.5 minutes.
Just put 2.
Just put 2. Okay.
Okay, and then how many trips on average do you take to make a cut outside?
It's not unusual to make 100 cuts a day. Would not be unusual.
Okay. And then last question, I know there's a range, but let's pretend you're still in tile. And what is your hourly cost of labor?
Let's just put, let's just put $25 an hour. And that's, and I'll say, some people might say that, well, that's too much or that's not enough. But if you think about a guy that's making, 18 bucks an hour, and you put some, his taxes and burden and workman's comp, it's about $25 an hour. And that's a pretty low number.
Okay, so let's go ahead and hit calculate cost. Let's see what we get. Thinking about it.
Hey, Sarah, could you have them move the screen more to the center of the, needs to go to the left a little bit so they could see the whole thing?
Yeah, of course. Working on it now. There we go.
So calculating.
Yep, there it goes. Okay, and then just go ahead and scroll down and it will come up with, oops, there we go.
Not this complicated on the website, but
So with everything broken down, your cost per day just using the water is close to it's $97 a day. And then week, you got $489, and then per month, you're spending close to $2,000 just walking to the saw.
yeah.
And that could, that could vary if your saw is further away or whatever. And really, this calculator could be used for any tool. It doesn't necessarily have to be for a wet saw, but you could kind of do the math and figure out, really, like he was saying earlier, every minute's costing money. So how do you make sure that you're being the most efficient with your time? So this is $2,000. That's just extra money that you just left behind, essentially.
Yeah. And this is not something we went through the calculator, but I mean, every job is a little bit different. But the point is, you're spending money, and you want to be most efficient and most productive with the way you spend that money. So this is another tool that you can use to check on that and make yourself more efficient.
And then the last questions we had were just, to kind of wrap up safety. And if you wanted to touch on, trip hazards and how dust can become a real safety hazard into this.
Yeah, well, dust definitely is something we're learning, especially in the tile industry, as a safety hazard. And a lot of times we don't realize the amount of dust that we're actually breathing in. But OSHA has put a regulation in place. It's for the protection of everyone, whether you're the contractor or an employee or another tradesperson on the job site. The silica dust is very dangerous. Any of that dust that you breathe into your lungs stays in there and creates a damaged part of your lung, and you just lost that piece of lung function. So from a safety perspective, protecting yourself and your employees is very, very important. If you do nothing else, just protect yourself from that dust. It's dangerous. You want to keep it off your clothes. You're not taking it home to your family as well. So it's a very important safety thing that we need to be aware of and are taking steps to mitigate the hazard. So.
And basically, I guess in closing, before we open it up to questions, do you want to just sum up on how that safety, especially of silica and the dust and everything, kind of all folds in, how to make the money?
Yeah, it's really, keeping control of your safety and having a good safety program. Part of it is having a good understanding of the silica regulation and what you need to do to be compliant, understanding fall protection and what you need to do to be compliant. So really understanding how to keep your job sites safer is going to make you a better contractor. It's the right thing to do to protect yourself and your employees. So it really works along with becoming a more professional contractor, keeping everybody safe, yourself included, so you can go back to your family. So it's just the safer you can be, then you're not breaking an ankle and spending time off work. That's not efficient.
Nope.
You're not being productive. So keep yourself safe out there. Take care of all the hazards that are around us, know the hazards that are around us. And by doing so, you can take the right steps and work those into your the things you have to do to get your job done. And you can be safe and efficient, and everybody can be happy and successful.
That's it. Well, thanks, Paul.
You're
and
welcome.
Jim, if you guys want to open it up, if we have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Wow, you guys, I love it. Being the host, I get to ask my questions first. So
Perfect.
where do you find the costing calculator that you were showing? Where would our attendees find that?
You can find that on our website at iqpowertools.com/cutting costs calculator.
Excellent. I think that's a really simple, easy tool for people to, for our contractors to find ways to cut costs, and it's great. Now, you talked a lot about efficiency, and you mentioned tools to assist in time management. What tools does IQ have to assist in time management and profit?
Well, we've designed our tile cutting saws that eliminate the water. And that is a tool then, now if you've eliminated the water, it gives you a lot more choices on where you can put your saw. So now you can take your saw and put it right in, the bathroom or right in the small area where you're working. So instead of taking 25, 30, 40 steps to your saw out, in the front yard, you're taking one step and there the saw is, you make your cut and you place your cut. So that's much more efficient. And then by eliminating the water, you're not looking for water. You're not setting up your saw with all these trays and things. You're not putting tarps up if you want to try to get to an indoor space, especially in the wintertime when it's freezing outside. You just don't have to deal with those extra issues that water brings. So that's part of the line of tools that we've developed, and we did that because I was a contractor. The guys that work here are tool guys. They understand how tools make you money, and we try to design power tools that do just that, make money for the end user.
Yeah, those
but
are
on
fantastic.
a less powerful note, we also have, like Paul touched on before, about being prepared before your job. We have a pre-bid checklist that we can share with you guys later. And it's pretty basic. It just kind of outlines some of the simple things to look for before you get to the job site on that day one. And it's something easy to check off, and then we can share that with you as well.
Yeah, I'd love it if you'd send me that at some point, Sarah or Paul.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
We'll get
one of the things I wanted to mention to both of you is, most contractors have what are called toolbox meetings or lunchbox meetings, right, where they go through safety and everything. I just want to make sure people understand that is really important to keep all of your employees, all of your contractors, all on the same page, understanding what's important, where the safety hazards are, and how to move past those. So that's great. All right, I do have some questions here. Are you aware of any changes or modifications that might be forthcoming to the OSHA silica rule, or is it pretty set now?
It's pretty well set. They are reviewing different tools to add to Table 1. Table 1 is a list of tools that they are investigating and doing some research on to list them as possible tools to use to mitigate whatever the hazard is. So, but it is pretty well set, and it is going to be part of our life moving forward. So,
well, that's where this next question kind of leads. So, so we know that these rules are out there, the OSHA safety rules, and what's going on. But a lot of our contractors say, "I've never seen an OSHA person. They've never stopped by." So, are they actually going to start enforcing those rules? Is there intention to move forward with that, with more fines and training and education? Are those things you're thinking we're going to see more of?
Yeah, I typically, and we have a discussion with OSHA, Fed OSHA, and California OSHA. We're here in California from time to time, and what they're doing right now is they say they're in the education phase. They want to really push the education and make contractors and employees aware that there is a updated regulation. So this is kind of the soft launch of it. But at some point, they, are going to start pushing the enforcement. And we have actually seen some of the enforcement start taking place, especially on larger job sites. And of course, they're going to go to larger job sites first. But their intent is to take that enforcement to a broader range, which is smaller and smaller job sites. So if you think you're on a small job site and you're getting away with something, you may be right now, but you're taking a risk. And I really hate to look at it that way, as people being scared of OSHA, that they're taking a risk, they're going to get caught, they're going to get fined. While all those things are true, the real fact is, from a silica standpoint and any safety issue, you need to be aware of what the hazards are, and you need to keep yourself and your employees safe. It's the right thing to do. It's the same with silica. Take the right steps, understand the hazards, train yourself and your staff what you need to be doing to comply with the regulations, and keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
And that's really, like I said, it's for your health, and we all need to take care of our health.
And I'm going to add to that, we had a meeting out with Masonry Association out in Charlotte a few weeks ago, and they actually sent an OSHA consultant to just do straight education there at our event for 2 hours, where contractors could come in and just talk through the silica regulation with an actual OSHA person right then and there, you know, try the air monitors and everything so that they could be fully educated and bring that education back to the rest of their team. And so OSHA is super open to, you know, calling them and trying to find your local representative in that area, because they want to teach you how to be compliant.
So be safe, right? Take
Yes.
care of your health, take care of your employees. That's really important. But I just want to make this comment to everyone because, again, people aren't seeing those OSHA reps out there, so they're not being that worried about it. But I will tell you a story. One of our contractors members called us and said, hey, I just got fined. I was working out in the driveway. I was dry cutting with a little 4-inch cutter, and I got fined. And we're like going, yeah, that OSHA guy probably wasn't going to that job, but he drove by and there he was right out, you know, I mean, he was as obvious as could be, right? So, you know, it's really important. At our NTCA workshops, we discuss the OSHA airborne reciprocal silica regulations, and we use a lot of the documentations prepared by IQ Power Tools, which is really, you guys are really leading this push, and I appreciate it. And are there on your website, are there places we can go, our contractors can go and find this information and some of the safety data and sheets?
Yep, you can go to our website again, iqpowertools.com, and then we have a full landing page just called Silica Desk, and it'll break down the Pell. It'll break down how do you get, you know, how do you understand the Pell, and it also lists resources such as Galveston Labs and some other places for air monitors. And then if you guys have questions too, our team is, I never thought that I would understand silica as much as I do, but you know, our team is here and we can help out as well.
All right, that's really great. I do want everybody to know that NTCA also has those same documents. I don't want to take away from your power and your strength because they can go directly to you. But NTCA on our website, we have our documents available too. But it's because of you that we have those, and we want to thank you. We really appreciate it. So, is there any last words the two of you would like to say? That's all the questions we have today. It's been really beneficial. Anything you want to follow up with or end with?
Yeah, I would just like to say it's again a real pleasure working with the NTCA. You guys are keeping it real and relevant for your contractors, and which is so important. And that's exactly what we like to do. So it's a great partnership. And you know, you're just a great organization to work with, and we really appreciate it. So just want to say that. Thank you, guys.
The feelings are mutual, definitely mutual. We really appreciate working with you. Your support is amazing. So I want to thank everyone for being here. Not one single person left during this program, and do not hesitate to go to iqpowertools.com. Is that right? Is that what it is? Your website? That's where
we're at. Yep, iqpowertools.com.
Yeah, go there, check out their tools, check out their safety data, check out all the things that they have that they're offering to not, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, IQ Power Tools wants to make money, but guess what? They want to actually take care of the contractor. They want them safe. They want them to be healthy. And it means a lot. It should mean a lot to every single one of our attendees here and our contractors. So I want to thank both of you. You guys have a great weekend. I want to thank everyone for attending. And we'll have another webinar coming up here soon. Everybody be invited, and we'll hopefully be doing more with IQ as we move forward in the future. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.